How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone is doing great today on this wonderful Wednesday. I don't know about where y'all are at, but it's hot here. Very, very sticky. Thank you, Jersey. Appreciate that. And welcome, Jersey. Lynn, welcome. So yeah, thought we'd do another song tonight. Just kind of an update on what we've been doing with all the lead guitar stuff, with the like the beginner pentatonic stuff. Thinking maybe next week we'll go back to that, because I figured this has given everybody enough time to kind of somewhat digest that stuff, and then now we can start kind of putting it together into actual like licks and stuff, like things that you can play and recognize and learn how to kind of do your own as well. So yeah, tonight we're going to do Give a Little Bit by Supertramp, and so this is going to be like a hello, Rick. How you doing, man? This is going to be a like a version of it, so you can play it by yourself. You could perform this song just on your own. So we're going to skip the entire like saxophone section and every saxophone solo section. So there's like three like main parts that we kind of have to go over, and two of them are very similar. The song has a lot of really cool chords in it that sound really good. They're easy to play. There's only one part in here where if you're a beginner it might be a little challenging, but nothing really too bad. We've done far worse than this. So yeah, in the description there's a link where you can download the tabs for this. So if you want to get those, then we can get moving on this tune. So anybody new tonight? And if so, where are you viewing from? All right, so while we're waiting for everybody to get their tabs, just if you like the content, you like the stuff I'm doing, it'd be like super cool if you hit that thumbs up button. Helps the channel to know that I'm doing a good job for them and I can continue to do this. And if you're just joining us, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs. Last week you were in Alabama. Oh, Alabama? Why don't for some reason I was thinking you said Florida. All right. So first thing we'll look at is the intro. And so the intro is kind of like the main riff. It's kind of like the most recognizable part of the song. And so the intro and the verse, and that's another thing. Like I've got this divided up. I've got like intro, verse, and bridge. And there's really no chorus or verse. It's kind of like they're almost combined, but those parts are very similar, and then the bridge section is a little bit different. So the bridge section's where it's got a B minor in it, so that's a bar chord. If you're a beginner, can be challenging, but yeah, nothing too terribly bad. So first, let's take a look just at the chords that we're going to have for this intro. So for this intro, it's only got just three chords, this same three chords over and over and over again. So we've got an A7. So if you're a beginner, you may not have learned seventh chords yet. So it's pretty easy. You just take like your A major shape, but you want to have the G string open. So there's two ways you could do it. Well, actually, there's three ways you could do it. But typically, people either do it with their second and third finger or their first and second finger. So if I'm going to use my first and second, my first finger will be on the second fret of the D string, and then my second finger will be on the second fret of the B string. You do the same thing, but using your second finger on the D string and your third finger on the B string. Now that's typically how I play it, just because uh, I think that probably must be the way that I learned how to play it initially. But on this, there is somewhat of an advantage, if you if you're more of a beginner and you haven't already gotten muscle memory for this chord. Using your first and second finger in lieu of your second and third is a really good way to do it, because it's going to make the transition through these chords on this part pretty easy. So we've got the A7, and then we've got a good old D major. I'm sure you already know that. And then a G major. So those are the three chords for this main riff. The intro, which, like I said, is also the verse slash chorus, whatever you want to call it, uses the same chords. It's just that kind of the arrangement is a little bit different. All right, so at the very, very beginning, before it kind of really starts picking up, when it's just a guitar intro, and I'm going to try. Often I'm going to be playing A7 with these two fingers because it's just my muscle memory, but I'll try to use my first and second as much as possible so you can see what I'm talking about for making these transitions. So we're going to go from A7 to D. So that if you use your first and second finger, it makes that chord change really, really simple, because all you have to do is move each one of your first and second finger each up a string. So the D, your first finger is on the D string, it'll move up to the G string, and your second finger was on the B, and it'll move up to the high E. And then just drop your ring finger to make D. So it makes that change really easy. Now, like I said, this is the way that I do it most of the time, just because that's like my muscle memory for learning that chord. So the chord progression goes A7 to D, A7 to D, A7 to D, A7 to G, back to A7, and then it's kind of a repeating pattern. Hello, Crit, welcome. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to start off with the A7, and we're going to do two strums that are. It's kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I can't think of what I'm trying to say here, but you'll see it when we play it. So you got two strums of the A7, and then right to two strums of D. So the A7 and then to D. So the second strum on D is it's a half note, and it's tied to a dotted eighth note. So it's actually a really weird amount of time to count. This is definitely going to be one that you're going to want to just really feel it out. It, like I've said probably a million times now, that's really the best way to do it, because the music is going to it's going to get you into the ballpark. But if it's a song you're familiar with, you've heard it, just play it like the way that it sounds to you, and it's if it sounds right, it's right. So we've got the two A7s to two Ds, and then it does it again. So that's just our first part right there. So it's kind of weird where the very first strum that we do is how would that 1, 2, 3 E, and yeah, it's coming in a really weird place, like on the third 16th note of beat number 3. So like I said, it's just crazy. It just makes things really complicated when you try to think about it in those kind of terms. At least it does for me. Has been my experiences with students in general. So do the A7 to D. We do that again, and then we do it again. But the third time, when we go to D, we're only there for a 16th note. Then we jump right back to A7. So that's kind of what makes this song kind of cool, is that he's just kind of got this, just casual kind of strumming thing going, but where he's changing the chords, they're in kind of odd places, and it just really gives it a really cool chordal melody. in the song. Okay, so again from the top, we're going to have one, that's two. Now we're going to do our third one, and we're going to come right back to the A7. So it feels really weird. Like if you've never really paid attention before, next time you like listen to the song, really just kind of tap your foot along with it. It's really strange how that change comes. Okay, so that's the starting on the fourth measure. So our third time from the A7 to D, we're not going to let that one ring. It's coming in on the last 16th note of beat 4, and then we're right back to A7 on the downbeat of 1. So it's very quick, very quick. So then we're right back to the A7. Like that, it's pretty quick. So the whole thing. Okay, so starting on that fourth measure on that A7. Oh, that's awesome, Lynn. Yeah, this isn't really too terribly tough, but I think this is a really, really great song, a real classic song, and it's fun to play because it sounds so good, but it's not, super difficult. So we're going to start that fourth measure with the A7, and now we've got just 2 quarter note strums. So 1, 2, and then on the downbeat of 3, we hit it again, and we do an upstroke of it's like a quick, like 1, 2, 3, and we switch to G. So that transition, we have to switch to, just like we were going from A7 to D, now we're going to G. So with that thing of doing the A7 like this is still going to make it easier for you to make the change into a G major, because we're just going to move our first finger down a single string. So go from the D string down to the second fret of the A string. And then our second finger, comes up on the D, and we fill out the rest of the chord. So, if you're somewhat of a beginner, you probably, when you're changing chords, you might be doing this, where you're kind of doing one finger at a time. The goal is to be able to move all your fingers at the same time. So this is actually kind of a good little progression to work through. It isn't always that you get where you can make the chord changes really easily, where they're almost connected together. So when it happens, it's like really nice. So it's a good way to kind of start off. Okay, so we come to that G, 2 G's, back to A7, and that brings us to measure 5. We just kind of continue along with the same kind of rhythm. So it's like the rhythm that we've already done. It's just there's less open space in between the chords. The duration of the chords is longer. Instead of being like 16th notes, now we've moved up to 8th notes. So before we were 16th and 8th notes, now we're 8th notes and quarter notes. So it's still the same rhythm, but it's going to feel almost like it slows down. When you start playing it, you'll get what I'm saying. See, so. So it's going to do the same rhythm thing, switching between A7 and D and A7 and G. So we did the G's, now we're to A7, G, or then it goes back to D. I always do that. I always want to go back to A7 right there, because that's what it does on the next line. It does that. So I wish I could look at this like all at the same time instead of having to scroll between these 2 lines. This is making it's kind of my memory sucks too much to be able to remember what a chord it was that I saw 10 seconds ago. So anyhow, before, I mean, we still have to continue that part, but thus far, does anybody have any questions? It's going to be pretty similar to this through the rest of it, except for the part in the bridge or whatever I called it, that it has a bar chord, and then it has three. I don't know. Well, we'll see when we get there. They're chord shapes that you've undoubtedly never done before, if you're somewhat of a beginner anyway. Somewhat what, Jersey? Okay. So rather than going through the rest of it, yeah, we'll just take what we've done. We can kind of practice it as like a loop. So you got the. That's actually where it goes into the verse. So that whole intro, other than the first, I guess it would really think about it. It's like the first three measures is like the intro, and then starting on the fourth measure where everything kind of starts to speed up, and there's less space between the strumming. And for anybody that's just joining us, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs. Okay, so if you're looking on the transcription, that it's the first. you can hear the cat. The door's closed. It's on the other end of the house upstairs, but she was asleep when I came down, and now she's awake, and she won't shut up because she thinks that she should be on my lap 24 hours a day. That's crazy. I can't believe that you can hear it. The microphone on this thing must be pretty sensitive. Yeah, so if you wanted to separate it and think of it as like these first ones where we let the D ring out, that's like the little intro part. Now we're doing more like the main riff. Give a little bit. That's where the vocals would come in there, but that's the next part. So again, when you look at the notation, you can kind of use that more or less as kind of a guideline for your strumming. And then really quick, I don't want to like rehash this every time, but like if you think about it, you're looking at it like if you were looking at measure 5 and we're starting there, you've got 2 8th notes and then a quarter note and then an 8th note, 2 16th notes, an 8th note, and 2 16th notes. So you could think of that as like down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. If that's how it feels for you, you really want it to be a thing to kind of feel it. So at first, if you've got the chords and you're having trouble with the strumming, getting the rhythm and stuff, and that's generally where most people feel like that's what, when they're starting out, that's where they're having their most problem, is feeling like that they're getting some kind of a rhythm in there. So you could start off without even just to kind of work through when just to kind of work your way through it, and then slowly just kind of work in getting the strum. Now you could make the strum even more basic too. You could, but it's not nearly as interesting to play it that way. It's just got a really cool groove to it, and it works with playing with a band or just playing it by yourself. It doesn't. You're not really losing anything. It really sounds. It sounds pretty good. So yeah, so that is like the intro part. And then the next part we'd have to look at is the verse. So before we move along to that, does anybody have any questions about that, or just any guitar related questions in general? It doesn't have to be about this song. Looks like we'll have plenty of time because this isn't going to take like a real long time to get through all these parts. Yeah, and if you're just joining us, there is a link in the description where you get the tabs. And if you like what I'm doing, show me some love, hit that thumbs up button. All that stuff really helps with these guys knowing that I'm doing a good job for them, and I can continue to do it. Ooh. All right. Okay, so for the verse, it's kind of the same thing of what we were just doing. Say 1, 2. See, I have to get a little bit of lead into it. Yeah, you kind of have to play the last like the last two beats of measure, what would that be, measure 9, to kind of lead you into it, so you get on the groove. Because for me, it's really hard to just start on that 1, 2. It's easier if I have that leading into it. So if I just go G. So it's going to do that kind of that same thing back and forth between those two. Now, if you're looking at measure 10, so on D, it's 1, 2, 3, and then on the and of 3, we switch to the A7. But we've got 2 16th notes, so it's like two quick strums. 1, 2. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to. It's 2 16th notes and then an 8th note, so it's like da da da. You have the one rings out a little bit longer. Again, this is just so much easier if you try to feel it. If you've never heard this song before, like ever, I can't imagine how that could be. how you couldn't have heard this song. It was like super popular. But when you're playing something, especially when you're doing this, isn't really a dumbed down acoustic version, because this, I mean, that's how he plays it. But generally, if you have that melody, so you can hear it in your head, the vocal melody, you don't have to sing it necessarily, but if you sping it, you know. It's hard for me to do that play at the same time. I'm not a singer by any stretch of the word. And tonight is brought to you by the Canadians. Okay, so the verse is 3 measures long, and it's just repeated. So we're going to start with D, A7, D, G, A7, G, A7. Now, when it gets to the end end of that repeat where it comes back to the beginning, this is another one of those places where it feels really weird because where he's making the change. He's making that change. He's switching to another chord on the and of, well, not even on the and of 4. It's the last 16th note of 4. And then it goes back to D. So So we're going to do on that G, 2 quick ones, back to A7, and then back to D because it just starts over again, you know. Just like that. So it's, and I don't mean to make it sound like, oh, just like that. It's really easy. It's not really super hard, but that rhythm, it's not so much of the rhythm. It's how it's where he's making the chord changes, and some of the durations. They're just really strange. Not, no, they're not really strange. They're just not typical. It's just one of the other reasons why I think this is like such a really cool, a cool song. So on that part, is anybody having any troubles with it? Because I get to sit here and play it with you, you know, and then you can just jump in and play along, and I'll just keep playing it as like a loop. And once you kind of do that, you can get you'll get the feel for it. It isn't going to be something like you're going to consciously go, oh, okay, I have it now, but you'll be able to tell. Your body will know that you've got it. So I'll do that. D, E7, D, G, E7, G, E7, D. So that transition there was really weird. So before you even do that, you could work on just going, whoops. Again, I just can't really seem to get the feel for it if I start right there. I'll just get playing it, and then I will say, hello, Glenn, welcome. I will, I'll just start playing it, and then once I get where I feel like that I'm in the right place, then I'll just start calling off the chords. Hello, David, welcome. A7, slow down more. G, A7, G, A7, D. So that's a weird change. So I already said we wasn't going to do that. My bad. So let me just play the little loop again, and we'll jump in. I'm trying to walk and chew gum at the same time here, and I don't have enough coordination to do it. D, A7, D, G, A7, G, A7, G, D, A7, D, G, A7. Now right there, I threw in like some extra strumming there. It's because I'm trying to talk while I'm doing this, and again, I don't have the coordination. But that being said, when you're working on it, if you start doing a strum and it doesn't sound exactly like the song, but it doesn't sound bad. It's not like it doesn't feel like it's, you know, like you're having to force yourself to do it. If it feels like it's like you're in a groove and you can kind of do it consistently, it's just not a big deal to like really change it. You know, everybody does that kind of thing. And sometimes that's just the stepping stone to being able to uh, play it better, play it more correctly, however you want to look at it. I don't want to necessarily say better because the song could still be a really cool song even if it was strummed differently. All right. So I hope that helped. If there's anybody that helped, if anybody needs any more, if they want me to do that here for a few more minutes, we got time. We could do that. A7, D, G, A7, G, A7, G, D. Sorry, I screwed up already. Sorry, I keep looking over reading the comment feed. Oh man, it's hot, and the air conditioner doesn't work worth a crap down here, so I'm stewing. Oh, cool, great. I'm glad you were able to get that. All right, so that is the so we've gone over like that main intro riff and that verse / chorus because it's just kind of that same thing. So that leads us to the last section, and this is the section that could be more challenging for you if you're more of a beginner, because it does have a bar chord, excuse me, and then it's got these other chords that I'll just kind of explain when we get there. They're like partial triads. You could think of it that way, I guess. All right, so here we got some new chords again. We got B minor. So you're just going to take your first finger and you just want to bar it all the way across the first 5 strings on the 2nd fret. And then your second finger is going to go on to the 3rd fret of the B string. Your 3rd finger's on the 4th fret of the D string, and your 4th finger is on the 4th fret of the G string. And you don't play the low E. Just now, the place for this where often beginners have issue is that they can get this note, but they can't get the one up here. So when they play, it's fine. Having that high F sharp on the top does sound really good, but you'll get it eventually. And right now, it's just not a deal breaker. So we got the B minor, and then we've got an E suspended 4. So if you just take regular E major and just put your pinky down, so it's on the 2nd fret of the G string. Your first finger wouldn't really need to be here anymore, but it's just easier to, E is the next chord anyway, so you might as well have it there. But even if it wasn't, you already have muscle memory, hopefully, of how to play E. So this just makes it easier. So I want to show you a little trick. This is just kind of a little added content. For these chords, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's the 2nd chord on measure 14. It says E SUS4. So SUS is like an abbreviation for suspended. So this chord would be E suspended 4. Some people say E sus. I hate that. I like suspended better. But so what that means is the first letter is telling you what kind of a chord, and then suspended 4. When you have suspended in a chord, what it means is that you're retaking the note that's the 3rd of the scale. And I know right now a lot of you are going, what? Every chord you play has 3 notes. It has the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the major scale. You don't even need to know that for what I'm about to tell you. So what it is that you're replacing 3 with 4. So note 4 is a half step away from 3. So that means that one of these notes that you're playing here has to go up a half step. But you're like, well, how do I know which one to do? I'm going to show you a little trick. When you're playing a chord here, it looks like it'll work with E. This is 1. As far I'm like referring to the notes of the scale. Like I said, the chord mix consists of the first, third, and fifth note. So it's just this order: 1, 5, 8, 3. 8 is the same as 1. 1, 5, 8, 3. So that means this note is 3. So if we need to make it 4, we have to move it up. So that's why we're putting our pinky here. And now we have E suspended 4. So let me show you with an example with a chord that you probably already have done this with. You take D and you want to do D suspended 4, you put your pinky down here because 1, 5, 8, 3. The lowest string is 1 when you're playing these chord shapes. Now this doesn't work for all chords, but it does for a lot of them. For most of the open ones, this will work with them. So that means that this note is 3. So if I want to make it suspended 4, I have to move it up a half step. So I put my pinky down. Anyway, you could play the song without knowing any of that crap I just told you, but it was kind of a game changer for me because it just made it. It let me know what I could do if I'm playing a chord and I wanted to change it, make it a suspended chord, because then you get cool stuff like by doing the suspended chords like Tom Petty and stuff like that. It made, instead of thinking, oh, now I've got to memorize a whole bunch of suspended 2 chords and a bunch of suspended 4 chords. No, if you know your major chords, because they all start out as a major and then they're modified, and you can go from there. I don't want to get off on like a big music theory tangent here, but this, all of this stuff I'm talking about, I've actually covered in this before. There was I think it's been more than a year ago, but there was a series that was like 3 weeks in a row. If you look back through on the channel, it's like boring music theory that everybody should know or something like that. And I covered it in there, but I just thought that was really interesting that you'd know how that would work. So we got B minor, we got the E suspended 4, and E major, and then G again. So we start off, let's just look at those first 3 measures. So we start with the B minor. I wanted to go to the wrong chord there. It's like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and to E suspended 4. So you have a whole measure of that B minor. We go to the E suspended 4, and we're going to do that 1, 2, 3, and then just to the regular E. To a G. Now, here on this G, he does this kind of a little fancy thing, little pickup note here. You don't have to do this. You could be playing this whole thing and everything is going pretty smooth and you get to hear it, and this could throw the train off the rails. It's just not an important thing to do it. In fact, when I pulled this song out a few minutes before I came on because I hadn't played it in quite a while, and I just want to kind of refresh my memory just a little bit. And just like that, my train of thought. Oh, I couldn't even remember that was over the little pickup notes. So we're on G, and we've got 1, 2, E, and 3, E, and, or 4, and. So it's like. But if you just go like that too, is, same thing. You still just kind of want to feel it. So that's that first line. Now, again, let me play just slow so you can kind of get the kind of get the feel for it. So it's B minor, E suspended 4, E, G. So you're on the G. You don't need to take, I took those fingers off because I'm showing you like where to do it, but you really just want to keep these on here and then just lift up your first finger and hammer it back on. So B minor, E suspended 4, E, G, and then that's going to lead us onto this next part. Actually, the last of it. So something I don't think I said at the beginning, but this is like a lot of the other songs I've done. This isn't like the song in order, all the parts. Like you can just like start from the beginning and sight read through the song. This is the parts, and then you put them together. So it's pretty easy on this one because this bridge is the only part that's really quite a bit different than the rest of the song because it has, you know, some additional chords, and it's just not that kind of that same A7 to D, A7 to G thing we were doing earlier. Okay, so here, so this is starting on measure 16, and the chord names on here, they're kind of intimidating. We got E11 over A. It doesn't matter. It's going to be easy to play. So that chord, we're going to take your first finger and you're going to put it on the third fret of the B string. And then you're going to take your middle finger and you're going to put it on the 4th fret of the D string. And now your A string, your G string, and your high E strings are all open. Really, it's a neat sounding chord. Okay, we're going to go from this to A7 and then back. So you could go like that to make your transition. You could just come back like this, so your first finger's on the B string and your second finger's on the B string. I wouldn't recommend playing it like this way all the time, but it could kind of help you to maybe to get this kind of under your belt a little bit, so you don't have to take your fingers off to make the change. So we start with the E11 over A. And I'm not doing the strum yet. I just want to show you the chord changes because you're going to kind of have to practice it possibly separately if you've never done stuff like this before. So the E11 over A to A7, back to E11 over A, and then an E minor over A. So for this, you can either move your hand up again, or you can use your third finger on the 5th fret of the D string and your pinky on the 5th fret of the B string. Now you could use other fingers; it's not going to sound different, but just for the ease of making the changes. Because when you put these fingers down, you don't have to take your first and second finger off, so you can just whoops. To me, that's harder only because, muscle memory. There's lots of stuff that I practiced. I'm not going to say I was practicing mistakes, but things that I was practicing not in the most optimal way to do it, and then I just got good at it. I changed the things that I felt like that were really necessary or beneficial, and the rest of the stuff, I just, everybody's a little bit different. Okay. So when we get to this part, so I'm starting the B minor, this is the there's so much to show. So for this part here, it's we're strumming this on the downbeat of 1. And I don't want to break it down this much, but this is a dotted 8th note. So it's like getting it's getting the downbeat of 1, and then the it's ringing out over the first 16th note of the and of 1, and then the second one is or yeah. So it's like an 8th note. If you thought about it like it was an 8th and 2 16th notes, it's just that the first 16th note is tied. So it ends up being this kind of like. Let's hold on a second. Okay. I could not remember the like the rhythm for it. So it's like 3 strums. So it's long, short, long. So it's like this first strum rings out for just a little bit longer than the third one, but the second strum is short. So you got like da, 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 then down to A7, same thing, da, 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 back up to the E11 over A, da, 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 and then the E minor over A, and then to back to A7, and then it just that leads you back into goes back into like the main kind of riff. So this section, I was saying, like if you're a beginner, the bar chord, and then this part. So if you have not had a lot of experience with doing stuff like this, like if you haven't like learned triads yet, I'm not trying to scare you. This isn't like super difficult. It's just it's kind of different than what you're used to doing because open, open. So you got all these open strings. Actually, that one's not open. Open, open. Yeah. So the only other part is, like I said, the solo section where there's a saxophone solo. I actually think it changes key there too. I didn't bother doing any of that because you're not going to be. This is just so you can play this for your for your own enjoyment or around a campfire, whatever. Just hopefully getting you some more songs. So that's all of the parts then to this. So like I said, you're gonna have to you'll have to put it together. But does anybody have any questions about this or other guitar related questions? You take care too, Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And if you're just joining us, there's a link in the description where you can get the tabs, but you'll have to watch the rerun for the instruction. Yeah, and if you like what I'm doing, it'd be super cool if you hit that thumbs up button. All that stuff really helps, with the whole YouTube algorithm thing. But mostly it shows these guys that I'm doing a good job and that I can continue to do this for you so I can keep my gig. Thank you, Jersey. Appreciate that. Hello, Glenn. Yeah, you'll be able to watch the rerun. I'm sure to get those tabs. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Crit. Appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you. I'll see you Tuesday. Um, yeah. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. I had a pretty good time, despite I feel like I'm doing this inside of a sauna. Um, I'm gonna go stand in front of the air conditioner upstairs. Oh, you are totally welcome, Glenn. I just saw your whatever you said about Supertramp is phenomenal. Yeah, they're um, when I was a kid, I didn't dislike them, but I didn't get it. When I heard it, I was just like, "What's so so great about that?" And I used to work with this guy that he played them a lot. He really liked Supertramp, Led Zeppelin, and there's some other older group I can't remember. He just played them just 24 hours a day, just constantly the same albums. And anyhow, I got to have a lot more appreciation for Supertramp after kind of having it shoved down my throat every day for 4 years. Uh, you mean like holding it like this, Glenn? You mean on your left leg? Is that what you're talking about? Um, okay, so it's gonna feel weird at first, but it should be something that if you're playing every day, it shouldn't after a couple days it shouldn't feel weird. Um, well, it should start feeling less weird. It may not become just, oh, this is what I do. It may not be your go-to thing. It could take a little bit of time. Uh, but other things that you got to look out for too is it's not just having it on here, it's how you're actually sitting and stuff. Like here I got this armchair, this is terrible, like the way this is like I'm a bad influence, this is not how it should be being done. But if oh crap, objects in monitor are closer than they appear. If sorry, the lid, I might knock the lid off of my guitar vault. So like if I'm sitting up here on the chair and I'm sitting up like how I should be. I'm not sitting on a chair, like sitting on the side of your bed. Sometimes you sink down. You got to make sure you're in a spot where you can set it on your leg and put the strap on too, and then stand up. So when you stand up, if you've got the strap, you should have it so the guitar is roughly in the same place. I know you see people, they have the guitar slung down to where they gotta bend over at the waist to be able to reach it or whatever. Yeah, I guess it looks cool and everything, but it's like super impractical for playing. I think under most circumstances. Now I'm sure that there are some people that are exception. If you've got like really really long arms, it might make it more comfortable to have it down like that. But for getting this down, if adjust the strap so when you sit or stand, it's roughly in the same place, and then try playing sitting down, stand up for a second. Okay, that feels good. Sit down and try to almost kind of emulate that, and you'll find the sweet spot. I hope that helps. All right. So does anybody else have any questions or anything? Oh, you do that with the strap, and you're still just having. What is it that feels uncomfortable to you? Is it just like how like up against your body, it feels uncomfortable, or are we talking on an acoustic guitar? Because that's going to make a difference too. If you're playing on an acoustic versus an electric guitar, just because of the thickness of the guitar, and even between some electric guitars or even acoustic guitars, I guess for that matter, depending on the size and like where the bout is. Like sitting down holding like a Stratocaster feels totally different than holding a Les Paul, that kind of thing. So when you're on your acoustic, you feel like that the guitar is too far to your left. Steve's Auto and Tracks. Can I make a suggestion at the beginning of the lesson? Can you play the song, then show how to play it? Well, yeah, that's kind of more or less what I did, but I just kind of break it into the parts. There's numerous reasons why for doing that. If you play too much of one part, too much to complete the song, then you get demonetized, you get copyright strikes, there's all kinds of stuff. I do have a bad habit though, sometimes just jumping right in without playing it first. And I'm not 100% sure if I did that tonight. I know we went over some of the parts so many times that you had to been able to get it. But yeah, Gwen, if the guitar feels too far to the left, what is it like when if you're holding over here? Do you feel were you having did you switch legs because you were having issue or just because I suggested it or whatever? Because if it's a thing, if it ends up being that this is better for you, because for some people it is, but I just feel for the most part that over here is better. But again, everybody's going to be a bit different. Well, Rick, it's better to be late than never, right? Because I suggested it. Okay, well, if it's a thing that it's just like really, I mean, if you're playing daily and it just is not working for you, then there could be factors in where maybe it is better for you to be over here. But I mean, without like actually seeing you, hold the guitars, like I'm just kind of speculating. But I I don't think I can't think of any student I've ever had that it just worked out that they had to play on their other leg. But I don't know. But I also haven't always been saying this is only something that I kind of maybe like 10 years ago kind of decided was the better way to go for me. Yeah, your guitar size too. I mean, if it's like really big, if it's like a Taylor Grand Auditorium or something, those things are huge. It does make a difference. Like if I switch from this to this, like my Takamine to this Ibanez, look at the difference in size here. I mean, they're quite a bit different. This one's a lot thinner. So this one playing, that's probably just a horrible idea to set my guitar there like that, but oh well. So when I play this, it feels like way different than that one does. It feels like I'm getting it a lot closer. It's more similar to playing like holding a Les Paul almost than the acoustic. Yeah, but it's just something you kind of have to play around with. I mean, there is no one size fits all for anything with guitar, despite what anybody says. There just is not. Everybody is different, and everybody has their own little challenges of things. Everyone's got the things that are easy for them, but your easy thing might somebody else's nightmare, or vice versa. Martin GPC. I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with Martin, obviously, but not that model. But yeah, I'd like to be able to try to help you more with it, but without being I'm able to see, it's really, really hard. But just keep kind of playing around with it and just kind of see what works for you. I also sometimes even now I will move it over to my right leg depending upon what I'm playing. There's certain things like licks that are high up that if I'm playing sitting down over here, I have to get over here, and then it's more like it is when I'm standing. I just pretty much come to the conclusion that I do better if I try to mimic the position that I'm in if I'm standing up. Oh, I don't have a Taylor. This is a Takamine, and this other one was a cheap. This is a cheap Ibanez AE. I don't know. It's like a factory second, and it's missing a string right now. But I put nylon strings on it. You get nylon strings with a ball in, so I put them on there, and it's really cool. It's acoustic electric, but it's nylon strings. You like playing all the shapes, like oh, just all the like chord shapes? What do you mean? Like different guitar shapes? It's weird. I've got several guitars that I never play. I've got this like really sick flying V that I only play it live because it kind of sucks to play it sitting down. If you ever tried to play a flying V sitting down, but they're kind of awkward. Unless like the Rhodes, the Jackson Rhodes that has the bottom horn or whatever you want to call it is shorter, and it kind of fits to where it puts you in that position as if you were putting it on your left leg. Yeah, the different shapes. Um if I could only have one guitar, and not necessarily anything I have, but if I could only have like one electric guitar, um I would I really like the way the body cuts are on like a Stratocaster or a Jackson Dinky or Ibanez, just anything that's like that. I think that's the most comfortable. Les Pauls are, I don't know. I just think they're uncomfortable. I play one all the time. I mean, like 99% of my YouTube videos are with the same Les Paul. But I don't know. They're just not as comfortable. But I just like that guitar. It sounds really awesome. Oh, you meant I spelled it wrong. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. It ended up being better than my about the 2 minute mark. My anxiety level was through the roof, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna go terrible, and it's gone pretty good. So thank you everybody. I really appreciate it. And I don't know what we'll do next week for sure, but I plan on to, if it ain't next week, it'd be the next week after that for sure. We'll get back to that easy pentatonic lead guitar stuff we've been doing. That's right, Jersey. You got that like way killer Strat. Yeah, I wanna someday. I mean, I've got a USA Strat as the one I've showed you. I put humbuckers in it and routed it out so you could pull the trem sharp and all this stuff. But I was a kid. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. I will be here next week, same time, all that stuff. Same bat time, same bat channel. But if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to the channel. I do this once a week and YouTube videos throughout the week for this channel. This isn't my channel. I just work here. But yeah, thanks everybody. Hope everybody has a great night, great week, and I will catch you next week.